You're not losing because life is unfair. You're losing because you keep shaking hands with the traitor inside your own mind. The voice that tells you to wait, to be cautious, to think twice, that voice is not your ally. It's your executioner. And the worst part? It sounds exactly like you. You think you're protecting yourself by hesitating, by analyzing, by playing it safe. No, what you're doing is slowly negotiating your own death. Every time you had a moment to act, to speak, to rise, you backed down. Not because someone forced you, but because that inner coward, that soft, subtle manipulator inside your skull, told you to sit still and behave. And you obeyed. You were never taught to fight. You were taught to comply. Rewarded for silence, praised for being harmless. They dressed it up as virtue, called it humility, kindness, patience. But it was none of those things. It was submission, psychological neutering. You've mistaken being agreeable for being good. You let your fire be turned into ash in exchange for comfort. But tell me this, what has comfort bought you? Who fears you? Who respects you? Who listens when you speak? No one. Because you've made yourself small, predictable, and easy to ignore. You think the world turned on you? No. The world reflects what you project. And what you've been projecting is weakness, not because you're incapable, but because you've been sabotaged by the enemy behind your eyes. He doesn't scream, he doesn't argue, he whispers, just enough to make you second-guess your instincts. And it works, because you trust him. You trust the voice that keeps you caged, silenced, bent beneath your potential. You overthink, and you call it intelligence. But it's not thinking, it's internal warfare disguised as logic. You think too much, but act too little. And every time you don't move, don't speak, don't dominate, that enemy wins. And you lose. You've been trained to betray yourself, to muzzle your hunger, to strangle your boldness. You feel it, don't you? That deep, burning instinct that wants to rise? The part of you that wants to be feared, to be respected, to own your damn presence? It's been buried alive under layers of politeness and fear. And now, when you look in the mirror, you don't even see a man, you see a shell. You don't walk into a room and command it. You walk in and hope you don't offend anyone. That's not leadership, that's not strength. That's slavery. You think you're being careful, but you're being controlled. By doubt, by insecurity, by imaginary judgment that lives inside your head like a parasite. You're not at war with the world, you're at war with yourself. And the enemy you haven't confronted is the one pulling every string. He feeds on your hesitation, thrives on your apologies, gets stronger every time you fake a smile when you want to speak your truth. He wins every time you say it's fine when it's killing you inside. And the longer you let him run the show, the more distant you become from the man you were born to be. You've spent your life letting fear make your choices, letting weakness write your script, letting shadows dictate your value. And now you want to win? Then listen carefully. You can't conquer the world if you haven't first conquered the war inside your own head. That's where it begins. Not with more motivation, not with better habits, but with psychological violence. You must turn on the enemy inside you, starve him, confront him, break his spine, because until you do, you'll always play the role of the almost man, the almost leader, the almost king. No one is coming to save you, not because no one cares, but because this isn't their battle, it's yours, and it's inside you. You want to rise? Then you kill the voice that says you're not ready. You crush the hesitation before it becomes paralysis. You take the crown, not with permission, but with fire. And if that makes you hard, cold, or ruthless, then so be it. Because soft men don't survive kingdoms and polite minds don't win wars. The enemy is in your head, and he sounds a lot like you. Don't reason with him. Don't pacify him. Don't let him speak. Burn him out. Rip the leash off your potential, and remember this. Every moment you hesitate, you strengthen the very thing that's been keeping you small. You think you know who you are. But let's get one thing straight. Your identity wasn't built, it was installed. Piece by piece. By parents who told you to be good. By teachers who punished your edge. By fake friends who couldn't handle your fire. You didn't become who you are. You complied your way into this version. And now, you walk around wondering why you feel invisible, erased, ignored. It's because you were trained to be a background character, taught to be soft, molded to please. And you call it kindness? No. It's self-erasure dressed in virtue. You say you're a nice guy. You say you don't want to cause trouble. You say you don't like confrontation. That's not morality, that's fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of finally stepping into the weight of your own power. And the longer you hide behind that fake modesty, the more they walk over you. You let the world mistake your silence for agreement, your hesitation for weakness, your kindness for obedience. And the worst part? You accepted it. You agreed with their low expectations of you. You handed them the knife, smiled and turned around. You were not born passive. You were made passive. Through repetition, through social conditioning, through 1,000 moments where your instincts said move and your programming said wait. And now you walk like a ghost. You lower your tone when you speak. You shrink your posture when you enter a room. You smile when you want to scream. You nod when you should roar. Why? Because deep down, you think being accepted is more important than being real, and that belief is your disease. Let me ask you something, and don't lie to yourself this time. When was the last time you walked into a room and felt like the most dangerous presence there? When was the last time someone looked into your eyes and backed down? When was the last time you said what needed to be said without apology, without sugar, without fear? You don't remember, do you? Because you've been too busy performing, playing the nice mask, hiding your edge, editing your fire. And all of it, every bit of it, has been draining the core of who you are. You've traded strength for approval. You've traded truth for politeness. You've traded power for comfort. And now the very people you try to please don't even respect you. They smile in your face, but they wouldn't follow you into battle. Because even they can sense it. That quiet stench of a man who doesn't trust his own roar. You were meant to command, to move through the world with intensity, with direction, with force. But instead, you were groomed to submit. And every time you choose safety over confrontation, every time you bite your tongue to avoid making waves, every time you smile when someone disrespects you, you hammer another nail into the coffin of your real self. The truth is brutal, but it's liberating. The world doesn't ignore you because it's cruel. It ignores you because you erased yourself first. You walked away from your instincts. You silenced your own voice. You told the world, I don't matter, with your body, your energy, your eyes. And the world believed you. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You need to reclaim yourself. Reclaim the parts of you you buried to be accepted. Reclaim the aggression, the wildness, the clarity that you suppressed for years. Because power doesn't come from who you pretend to be. Power comes from remembering who you were before they broke you. And if that version of you feels unfamiliar, good. That's the part they tried to kill. The part you were punished for, the part they called too intense, too much, too aggressive. That's the real you, the threat, the force, the one who didn't shrink, didn't wait, didn't care what they thought. It's time you bring him back. You keep thinking power is something you find outside, through money, followers, validation, status. That's why you keep losing. Because real power doesn't come from the outside. It's built in the dark corners of your mind, where no one's looking, where no one can help you. That's where the war starts. That's where the crown is forged. And the philosophers you ignore, they already mapped this battlefield. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. That voice in your head, the one that makes you hesitate, bow, delay, that's not fate. That's your unconscious. And it's controlling you, not the world, not your enemies, your own unexamined shadow. The fears you won't admit, the rage you suppress, the desires you water down to look good in public, that's what's running the show. And you wonder why your life feels off, like something vital is missing. What's missing is you, uncensored, unleashed, unafraid. Niccolò Machiavelli never preached peace. He wrote for rulers, for men who were ready to dominate or be dominated. He said it plainly, it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. You want to be liked, you want to be safe, you want to be approved. So you soften your voice, round your edges, make yourself small enough to fit into spaces that weren't even built for you. And what has it earned you? Nothing but invisibility. You want power? Then you need to be willing to be feared, not by being cruel, but by being unshakably certain. Friedrich Nietzsche didn't ask you to be humble, he dared you to rise. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how, he said. But your why is weak. You live for comfort, for distraction, for the illusion of peace. You escape into your phone, your food, your fantasy, because you can't face the truth of your own softness. Nietzsche believed in becoming the Übermensch, the one who creates his own values, who doesn't follow the herd, who doesn't beg to belong. That man, he's everything you've suppressed. You had him once, before the world convinced you to play nice. And Erich Fromm, he warned us, most people run from freedom. You think you want freedom, but what you actually crave is permission. You want someone to tell you it's okay to be powerful, to be dangerous, to be you, but no one's coming, because you don't ask for permission to take your place. You claim it. And you haven't claimed anything. You're still asking, waiting, hoping, all while the enemy inside you sets the rules. So here's the hard truth. They never taught you in school. You were born into a war, psychological war. Every man is. And the battlefield is his own mind, his own patterns, his own voice. And until you face that voice, you're a slave, dressed in modern clothes, scrolling modern apps, speaking modern language, but chained like an ancient servant. You meditate, you journal, you breathe deep, all fine, but none of that means a damn thing if you still bow to the same inner coward every time a challenge appears. The real growth doesn't come from sitting still. It comes from confrontation, from psychological violence, from going toe-to-toe with the parts of you that have been hijacking your life. This isn't about becoming someone else. This is about killing the version of you that was never real, the version they built, the version that obeys, that smiles, that waits. Power begins the moment you stop negotiating with your inner enemy and start making demands. You want to lead, then command. You want respect, then become someone they can't ignore. You want to rise, then look inside, find the saboteur and destroy him, tear his voice apart, break his rhythm, erase his existence, until the only voice left is one that speaks with fire, with clarity, with authority. No more weakness pretending to be wisdom, no more cowardice masked as compassion, no more being nice when the moment calls for domination. Power is not granted, it's seized. And the first conquest is not out there, it's within. You are not at war with the world, you are at war with the parasite in your head that calls itself your personality. It ends now. When did you first surrender? Was it loud? Was it dramatic? No, it was quiet, always quiet. A slow corrosion of who you were meant to be. Maybe it happened the day you lowered your voice to not offend someone. Or when you held your tongue because you didn't want to be too much. Or maybe it was when you failed once and decided that failure was identity. That discomfort was a stop sign instead of fuel. You didn't fall, you faded. You bled out, one drop at a time, until you became invisible even to yourself. The enemy wasn't outside. He wasn't the boss who overlooked you. He wasn't the father who doubted you. He wasn't the woman who left you. It was the voice inside you that said, "They're probably right." That voice that nodded and complied and shrank just enough to keep the peace. You think you're keeping peace. No, you're killing power. There is no peace for a man who betrays himself daily. You've been lying to yourself, telling yourself you're patient, telling yourself you're wise for staying silent, telling yourself it's mature to not confront. That's not maturity. That's fear with a diploma. You think you're calculating, you're freezing. You're choking on your own hesitation because somewhere along the line you started measuring your worth by how much you could tolerate, not how much you could command. Look around. Who respects you? Who fears losing you? Who changes their tone when you walk in? No one, because you've taught them not to. You've trained the world to treat you like background noise. You don't need louder words, you need presence. But presence doesn't come from words, it comes from belief, from energy, from war wounds. And you haven't gone to war with yourself yet. You're still negotiating. Why do you lower your voice around stronger men? Why do you laugh when someone disrespects you just to avoid tension? Why do you explain yourself to people who don't even deserve access to your thoughts? Because you fear the consequences of being real. But here's what no one told you. There are consequences for being fake too. They just take longer to destroy you. Death by 1,000 small concessions, and by the time you wake up, you're decades deep into a life you never even chose. You think this is harsh? No, this is necessary, because right now your softness is a weapon used against you. You're being dominated not by strength, but by your own submission. They don't need to break you. You've been breaking yourself for years, and all they have to do is let you. You've mistaken survival for success, silence for intelligence, timidity for self-control. But power doesn't live in silence. It lives in movement. It lives in risk. And right now, you are allergic to risk. You've become so calculated that you've forgotten how to be dangerous. And a man who isn't dangerous is already dead in the eyes of the powerful. What have you done lately that scared you? What boundary have you set? What room have you walked into and owned? When was the last time you made someone uncomfortable by simply being real? You haven't, because you've traded truth for comfort, power for peace, and the price is your soul.